right, so let's take a look at the assessment for week 4. So this week we are going to assemble and finalize all parts of your campaign, and you're going to mock them up into some real settings, and I have real is in quotes. Then you will present all of your work as a cohesive campaign. So you want to use Photoshop to place each of your billboards into logical photos, which have been provided for you. You're going to put your website into a computer screen picture. You're going to place your logo in a single page and show both a color and a black and white variation of it. And then you're going to put all the elements together in a single PDF. And you're also going to have a Facebook template. So everything that needs to be presented, make sure you have on one of the presentation templates. And they'll go in this order. So what we're going to do is we'll go check out the assessment. You can see where those templates are. So you're going to use the templates provided. It says Project 4 templates. So you'll just download that, which I have already downloaded on my computer, and I have them in my week 4 folder, in my assessment folder, and I keep them separate. I find that this is easy to do it this way, and there is a reason for that, because if I need to go back in, if I screw something up, I don't want to have to go back and re-download. So what I like to do is I like to keep my originals that I've downloaded separate, and I'll save everything into a final projects folder, just so that way it's a little bit easier for me to differentiate between what's finished and what I still have to work on. So it's a really good system for me, and I would recommend it to you as well. You know, like if you accidentally screw up the billboard template, you know you can open it back up and you don't have to re-download that whole zip file to do it again. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to pull up all of your previous assignments. So this is where also keeping things in a logical order and, you know, in folders where you know where everything is really makes the most sense. So let's look at what we need to do first. We have to grab that final logo, and we need to make it color and black and white. So I know I worked on my final logo in week 2. I believe it was the assignment. Yes, in the assignment. So I'm going to open up that AI file that I created, which is my logo, because I want to open up my original file, not the PDF that I've saved it as. And remember, I'd gone over this yesterday, but I will go over it again today. You don't want to just turn your colored logo grayscale and call it a day. You really need to think about, you know, the different tonal values in the black and white version of your logo. And it doesn't just need to be black and white. It can be different tones of gray. I want to make that clear. So I have my colored logo. So I'm going to do a quick file save as. And I'm going to go over into my week 4 final assessment. Whoops. Final project. And I am going to, you can either leave it named what you named it, week 2 assignment logo, blah, 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 or you can just rename it. So, you know, final logo color. I'm going to click save, because you're going to put all of these into a 1-page PDF when it's done. So that way it'll make it easier for you maybe than trying to figure out the weeks, like, wait, what was week 2 stuff? You know, so you can just kind of name it that way. When you go in and you see final logo color, you're like, oh, all right, that's my final logo, and that's the color version of it. So make it a little bit easier for yourself. So again, yesterday what I had shown you was if you grabbed your logo and you went up into edit colors, convert to grayscale, that will technically convert your logo to grayscale, which meets the black and white requirements. But I was showing you, you know, look at how this converts. You know, this is nice, like the 2 colors obviously really stand out from each other in the color version, but in the black and white version, this gray and this gray, the word that stands out the most is Massachusetts at this point, not Westport, which is the town that I'm trying to, bring tours to, that I'm trying to advertise here. So I want to make sure that I really look at those grayscale tonal values. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, grab this gray. I can go into select same fill color. And I'm going to turn this to 100% black. And then this gray right here is, when I zoom out, that's really getting lost. So I need to probably make that a little bit darker too. So I'm going to select it with my white arrow tool, and I go up into select same fill color. That way I know I'm grabbing everything that color, so I don't end up missing one. It's a little trick that I've learned. Instead of trying to manually go and select all of different color blocks, I find that works the best. I'll double click right here on the color swatch, and I can see right here, it's only at 12% gray, so that's really light. That's like almost white. I mean, I'm probably gonna change it to, let me see, maybe 40% gray. Let's see what that looks like. I think that was the gray color I decided to go with yesterday. So to me, that stands out way better than the original grayscale that it just converted to. So again, I'm going to do a file, save as. I'm going to name this final logo BW for black and white. And save, I can close that out. So that takes care of my first requirement, my final logo in color and black and white. Now, I need to make sure that this logo is present on my billboards, my Facebook template, my website, and my postcards, because I need to have a cohesive ad campaign. So I want to make sure that all of the elements, when I'm putting them all together, that they look like they go together. So if I start to do my billboards and I realize that they don't really match the feel of my Facebook template or my website or my postcard, and it doesn't feel like this is a cohesive campaign when I look at them all together, then this is the time for you to start to tweak maybe some of the images that you've chosen, make sure that your color scheme really works well together. You want to make sure that everything works together and it feels like one ad campaign for your town. And remember, the theme for this is family summer vacation. So in a way, I am your tourist, and you are competing with all of your other fellow students in your class to get me to come to your town. So that's what you want to think about. You're really trying to sell this town to me. Why do I want to come to your town as opposed to going to, student B's town? So really start to think about that. Step back for a second. And if you're not sure if you are, just putting together an ad or if you are advertising your town, get some feedback. I mean, utilize your social media, post up what you're working on your Facebook page and say, hey, would you come visit this town? And see what your friends think. It's really a great idea, to do that, and you'll get a lot of feedback that way. So I definitely suggest doing something like that. And yeah, so just remember that's your theme. So let's go back. All right, so my billboards were from week 2 as well, I believe. And you'll recall I only created one billboard while we were doing this. So I'm going to have to mock up that billboard in all of the different scenarios. We have 3 billboard templates right here, which is fine. That's completely fine. So I'm going to open up the PSD file, the one that I created. Relax by the sea. It's starting to get really nice out here, actually, in New England. It's pretty warm out today. I opened the door and Gohan was sitting outside for the longest time, but apparently the sun pooped him out because he's on the couch now. But I definitely want to head out to the beach. I want to relax by the sea. Is that too much to ask? All right. So you'll notice when I pull up the first billboard template, this is our real world scenario right here. Here's your blank billboard, and you're going to place your billboard onto this layer base pick. So right on the grayed out area. So I want to show you how to do this the easiest way, because chances are good you created this billboard. Move these out of the way. You created this billboard and you have all different layers, and you know, it's a PSD file, which is completely fine. But I'm sure you remember my my little trick where if you go to Window, Arrange, Tile All Vertically, and you wanted to, let's say you wanted to grab it and bring it over here, it's going to bring everything over here. Go to Consolidate all the tabs as different layers. And that's going to be a little bit of a nightmare to try to scale down to place it correctly on this billboard. So you don't want to do it that way. I'm going to show you a much easier way to do it, which is one of my little Photoshop tricks. So select everything by doing a Command A, and you'll notice it puts a bounding box around the entire file. Then you're going to go up to Edit, Copy Merged. And what that does is it copies all of these layers as though they were only one layer, as though it's like a flattened file without you having to actually flatten the file. So that makes it a lot easier for copying PSD files into a different file without copying every single layer. So click Copy Merged, and you can either leave your billboard open or you can close it out at this point. And then you're just going to do an Edit Paste or Command V. And it's going to be ginormous compared to the size of this template. But you'll notice it's one layer. So you can rename your layer, just double click on it. You can just kind of call it My Billboard. And like I said, it's ginormous. It's going to show up. Here it is on here. And if you just zoom out, you can go, or zoom. I always use the quick keys for this. Image, edit, zoom, or you can use the zoom. The quick key is Command minus right up next to the 0. That'll let you zoom out. That's the easiest way. I always forget where zoom is actually located up in the drop downs because it's been so many years since I've actually used it up there. All right, then what we need to do is we need to transform this layer to get it to fit within our area that we have selected. So there are two ways you can do this. You can do Edit, Transform, Scale, which puts that bounding box right there. Or you can hit Command T, which also puts the bounding box right there. Now, when you are scaling it, you want to make sure that you are scaling this to start with proportionally. At some point, it's going to be a little bit not proportional, but let's try to start and make our scale as proportional as possible. So to do that, when you have this bounding box right here, go up here, and where it says width and height, there's a little lock. Click on the lock, and you'll notice when you hover over it, it says maintain aspect ratio. That means it's going to scale it proportionally for you. So click on that. You'll notice when it's clicked on, it's a little bit darker, the gray. When it's not clicked on, there's no box. That's how you can tell. Then you can start to drag the corners. And you'll notice I'm not holding down the shift key. It's scaling this proportionally. And I want to try to get it about where this top left corner and the bottom are about the correct height. Maybe probably like right there. All right, and then I'm just gonna hit enter. And that place, you know, it takes the transform basically. All right, and you'll notice it's clearly not fit into the spot. We need to do some Photoshop manipulation to fit it into this spot. So what you need to do is you need to hit Command T again. And this is where it gets a little weird. You need to hold down the option or the Command key. If you're on an older computer, it's your Apple key, but it says Command. It's the one closest to the space bar. Hold that down, and I'm going to zoom in a little just so you can kind of see what it starts to do. So you'll notice how I have the double arrows here right on the corners, but when I hold down the Command key, it turns into that white arrow. That's because it allows me to do different things with that bounding box based on whether or not I'm holding down the Command key. If I'm not holding down the Command key and I start to drag, it's going to scale it again. That's all it's going to do. But if I hold down the Command key and I get that white arrow, it's going to allow me to skew it a little bit, which is what I want. So I'm going to hold down the Command key and I'm going to grab just this corner right here, and I want to drag, and notice how it's like skewing it, how I can kind of do this. I'm going to drag it right to the edge of that corner. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to hit enter because I want to I want that change to stick, basically. Then I'm going to, this is the thing that you need to remember, because you're going to do all, well, you might not have to do this corner, but you're going to do the other three corners. And if you go from one corner to the other corner to the other corner without hitting enter first to, like, you know, let that change stick, it's not going to work correctly. So I'm going to hit Command T again. I have to go over here, and I'm going to hold down the Command key so I get that white arrow again. See how it goes from double arrow to the white arrow? I'm going to grab this one while holding down the Command key, and it's going to get a little crazy for a second. I'm going to drag it over to this corner. Like, I'm just matching it up to the corners of that gray box. And if it's hard to see where the corners are, if you're having a hard time, make sure that your rulers are on, and you can just drag a guide to all four corners. So that way it'll make it a little bit easier for you to see which one is which. It's this corner. So these two are going to be kind of close, but you know, if you're having a hard time, it'll definitely help you. All right, so last one, I'm going to hit Command T. Again, I get this white arrow, and it's going to get a little nuts for a second. It's going to move this one. That ends up happening. And hit enter. I'm going to have to just kind of scale it and bring it down over here. Oh, look, it moved a little bit up here. I got to move it up here a little. Hit enter. Hit Command T again. I'm going to bring it just, I'm not even holding down the Command key at this point because I'm just going to scale it in a little bit on this side, on the right-hand side. Hit enter. Command T, and you'll notice the bounding box isn't lined up anymore. It's because we've skewed it so much, it gets a little crazy. I'm going to zoom in a little. And if it keeps sticking, I'm going to hit escape. If it keeps sticking to the guides you have here, just kind of drag them out of the way. That'll help you. And Command T, hold down the command button, just drag it until I can visually see that this corner is lined up with that corner. I can turn it off. All right, so this is a bit off up here. Zoom out a little. Hit the Command T, hit Command again. Drag this corner down here. And I'm holding down the space key to get that hand to kind of move myself around. I'm going to drag this corner just a bit. All right. There. And hit enter. And if you're not quite sure, like if you can try to turn it off and on to see the layer, to see if it's on there correctly. But, if that's a little bit difficult for you to see, what I sometimes will do is I'll turn down the opacity on this layer right up here. So maybe I'll turn it down to like 30%. And there I can look, see, because the gray starts to show through. And it's like, oh, all right, it's totally on there. And then turn it back up to 100%. All right, so that was the first one. And now it is saved as a, it's going to be a PSD file, which is fine. So you want to do a file save as, not a file save, because remember, we're going to put it in that, we're going to take it out of that project for templates and put it into that final project folder. And you can leave it named either Billboard Temp, if you'll remember. I'm going to rename it Billboard 1. So I just know that I have them all, and they have a little bit different of a name. So if I go to look for them, I'm like, oh, okay, this isn't the template anymore. This is the finish. So Billboard 1, moving Billboard 1 final. And I'm going to hit save. Okay. And I'll close. Whoops, I should have left that one open. Close that out because I only have one. Next, what you would do is you would open up Billboard Temp 2 and you would open up your second billboard that you created. So let me quickly, no, that'll take me too much time. We'll just pretend again that I have 3 different ones. I'll say I'll make 3 different ones, but I want to make sure that I get everything done. Well, let me look. Hold on. I had some good images in week 3. I'll just swap out this image so that way you guys can see that they're different on all of them, and it doesn't get too confusing. So let me just drag that in here. It's not going to scale well. And this is where, again, using high-res images is important because this is going to get low-res very quickly. Passport, relax by the sea. And there. All right. So not the world's best billboard, but it's a third version. It's a second version of it. So let me save that as 2. And I'll just make number 3 while I'm in here. It'll be a little bit easier with that one. So obviously you don't need to do this. You already have 3 billboards. I'm just trying to have 3 to show you. All right, and this will be version 3. There we go. It goes right to the edge, so that'll make my life easier in the long run. And name that as Billboard 3. All right. Good. All right, now I can pull up Billboard 2 again. Here we go. Billboard 2 is definitely the worst of the bunch. And open up Billboard 2 template. All right, so this one is going across a highway apparently. So we're gonna do the same basic thing. I'm gonna go over to Billboard 2 PSD. And I'm going to fix this because looking at it like this drives me bananas. I'm going to do a Command A or select all, whichever one you want to do. And I'm going to do edit, copy merged. And again, it's going to copy it as one layer. And I'll paste it on here. So either edit paste or Command V. And I'm going to rename this Billboard 2 so I know which one I'm working on. And again, you can either do edit, transform, scale, or Command T to begin to scale it down. So we're going to do the same thing again that we just did. But I'm going to link my my width and my height, my aspect ratio, because like I said, I want to start off as proportional as possible when I am scaling this down. And just drag in the corner. That way I don't have to sit here and hold the shift key. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'm going to try to scale it as close as I can to the two edges. So I kind of lined it up to this edge. And height-wise, try to line it up to that edge. Turn this off for a second, and I'll drag my guides down. Just so I know where the corners are once I start doing this. Gets a little confusing with all these different layers. Not that all these guides don't get confusing. There we go. So again, I kind of have like my crosshairs for this corner, my crosshairs for this corner, crosshairs for this one, and crosshairs for that one. So I can turn my guides back on. I can see a little bit better. I need to skew them too. All right, so this is where I'm going to do the Command T one more time. Or not one more time, but I'm going to hit Command T, and I'm going to hold down that Command button on my keypad. And again, it's going to give me that white arrow. I'm going to drag it over to this corner. I'm going to hit Enter. I'm going to hit Command T again. And I can kind of just drag this over a little bit before I do that. Instead of like, so it won't skew it as much trying to get down to that corner, and then just hit Enter. Hit Command T another time. This one, I'm going to hold down the Command key to get that white arrow. I'm going to drag this corner down to this corner, hit Enter, and drag this corner down to that corner and hit Enter. And that one went a little bit easier because I kind of scaled it in before I started dragging these two corners. And turn my guides off and make sure it's pasted up correctly. So you'll notice, I mean, it really starts to go off into the distance. The perspective of this is great once you start to do this. You know, it really looks like you're standing below this billboard and you're looking up at it, and it's kind of skewed exactly like how it would be placed into that billboard. So you can see how it's pretty cool to do things like this and to place your billboards into a realistic scenario. You know, this, I think that's really cool that they're showing you how to do this, because, you know, clients are definitely going to want to see, like, well, how is this going to look? And you can, you know, you could go out and take a picture of a billboard somewhere and mock it up to show them what their billboard would look like. And I think if you're doing something like that, it's going to give you an edge over other designers who might just send them a flat piece. So it's really cool that you'll know how to do this going forward. So again, I'm going to do a file, save as, because I don't want to save over my template I've been working on. And I'm going to go back to that final projects folder, and I'm going to name it the same that I named the first one. I'm just going to name it number 2. So billboard _2 final. So I know that this one's done. I'll hit save and hit OK. You can close it out, and I can close Billboard 2 out. All right, next I'll open up Billboard 3. And open up Billboard Template 3. You can see a theme. Now, out of all of them, obviously, this one looks as though it is going to be the easiest. However, this billboard is way wider than this one. It may be difficult for you to see, but it is. So do you want to just skew everything and crop it into that spot, not proportionally? Or do you want to maybe fix this a little bit? The correct answer is to fix it a little bit. So to figure out the correct dimensions, here's an easy way to do that. Take your magic wand tool, which is over here, or you can hit W. It'll bring you right to the magic wand. And select that gray box. And then just either hit Command-C for copy or go to Edit Copy. And go back into your Billboard 3 PSD file. And right up here at the top, you know, your first layer, just paste it in. So Command-V or Command-T. And you'll notice, look at how small it is, this box, compared to like this template based on like the size we need to make these. That's why they scale down so small. But that's okay. What you want to do is you're just going to grab that, that gray box and you're going to hit Command-T. And this is extremely important for this one. You need to maintain that aspect ratio. So make sure after you hit Command-T that you lock your width and your height. And then start to drag. And just drag right down from one corner, right down to the bottom edge and hit Enter. And it's a little bit, it's a tad off. That is fine. This part, it might be easier for you to center it, maybe between the two. Maybe you think that this side works better and you can just move this over. But basically, you know, drop a line wherever you need to, either, you know, by centering in the center and moving things on the left inside and the right inside or what have you. But it'll make it a lot easier for you to crop this if you do it this way. So it's easier, it makes more sense for me to move the word C in and leave the logo where it is. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to turn off this layer. I have my guide right here, so I know where I need to move everything through. So I'm going to grab my headline and whoops, I accidentally put my photo in that folder. Let's drag that out. There we go. Nope. There we go. All right. So I'm going to grab my headline. And if I just move it over, it's obviously running into my logo. That's not good. So I'm just going to do a quick, whoops, Command-T. And I'm going to hold down Shift, or I'm going to make sure it's locked, because even sometimes holding down Shift, those numbers don't stay aligned. Just kind of scale that down. There we go. So the only part that I'm going to be copying in is from this rule over. So the easiest way, again, for me to do this is I'm not going to hit a Command-A because I don't want to copy everything at this point because it'll still copy over here. So I want to draw a marquee box. So that is this, like the box with the dancing ants, it's the second one down. You can either select it over in your toolbar, or you can hit M. You'll notice, see when you hover over the tools and there's a letter like in parentheses, like let me hover over the move tool and it says V, that's the quick key for that tool. So the marquee tool, the quick key is M. Anything that's in the parentheses, that's the quick key. That's how Photoshop works. And I might actually, because if I'm going to do it, I should do it right. I'm going to grab the headline and the logo, and I'm going to move them both over. Yes, you have to edit this board because this this billboard is longer than this template, and it's straight on, so it would be more noticeable if we skewed this one in. I'm explaining that part. I haven't gotten to that part yet. So I'm going to move my headline and my logo over. I just want them to kind of be centered into this new space that I've created. So again, after I do that, I'm just being particular. I am going to start at the top left corner. Here's the thing. If you're like, oh, I don't know if I can grab right at that top left corner, click down outside of the actual box and start to drag, and it'll automatically start you at that top left corner. I'm going to drag down, and I'm only going to copy or draw the marquee up to that line that I've created, that rule I put down, which has to do with the gray bounding box. And then I'm going to, again, I have just this part selected. I'm going to go up into Edit, Copy Merged, but just for this part. I'm not going to copy this part because I'm not using it. Go into my billboard template. Make sure I have that deselected. And I'm going to hit either Edit Paste or Command V. Zoom out a little. I'm going to hit Command T again and make sure that this is locked, my maintain aspect ratio. And I'll start to scale this down. And there's going to be a little bit of skewing that I'm going to have to do on my end, but not that bad. Let me turn this off for a second and drop some guides. Yes, that is correct. Yep. Drop all 4 guides. And I'll turn that back on. So now I can kind of begin to match it up with the guides. And it's a little off over here. Might just bump it over a little. Zoom out, hit Command T. I'm going to hold down Shift or lock my aspect ratio. And I can turn those guides off. And here's the thing, it's a little bit off right here. Just like literally a smidge. So I'm going to hit Command T. I had to zoom all the way in. I'm going to hold down the Command key. I'm just going to drag it that little smidge over and hit Enter. You almost can't even tell, but if you're going to do it right, right? Hit Command T on this corner, hold down the Command key, and drag it over a smidge. There we go. Perfect. So you'll see that the extra part right here didn't copy because I just selected the part that I wanted to copy. And this would be so much easier than me trying to scale it down. The Command key is next to Option. It's to the right of the Option key. So it's like right next to the space bar. Yes, you hit Command T. That's the or you can do Edit Free Transform. That gives you that bounding box. But then while that bounding box is there, that's when you have to hold down that Option key to get the white arrow from the double arrows. Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, it's a little bit confusing because sometimes you have to hold down Command to get to the actual bounding box, but then you have to like hold down Command again. So yeah, it can get a little bit confusing. Yeah, it's warping things takes a little bit of practice, to get really to get really good at it. It definitely takes like some practice and almost like the dexterity in your fingers to get them to do what you want them to do while holding down certain keys. And it's kind of funny because you'll get to the point where you'll do it so much that when you think to tell people how to do it, you're like, wait a minute, because my my hands know what they're doing, but my brain isn't even following along anymore. It's like totally just like on autopilot. And you know, one of the things that I had to learn to teach Photoshop was to kind of stop myself and be like, okay, your hands are going faster than your brain. So you need to, you know, stop, do it, and then watch what you're doing, because I've been doing it for so many years. It's like I don't even have to think sometimes. It just starts to do what it needs to do. And I'm like, wait, how did I just do that? So yeah. And rename your layer, Billboard 3. There we go. All right. So again, for the last one, I'm going to do, again, the file save as. And I'll navigate over to my final projects. I'm going to name it the same that I named the other two, only I'm just going to name it number 3 and hit save. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. I try to catch myself if I'm using shortcuts. All right, so at this point we have done, let's look at our checklist. Don't want to forget anything. We've done number 1, our final logo, color in black and white. And we've done number 2, our billboards, total of 3, which is number 2. So next we have our Facebook template, which is named FB template. You will notice that this Facebook template is different than the Facebook template from week 3. So you need to be aware of that. So which one was Facebook? There we go, okay. If you're ever trying to look through your files, this is kind of a new thing. Well, it's probably not new to you, but I've had Macs for the last 20 years, so it feels new to me. If you hit the space key, it gives you a little preview, and you can hit like up and down, you know, to look and see like the previews of everything. So that way you don't have to open up all of the files. It's really great. You know, being able to do that instead of having to like launch Photoshop every single time. You can just kind of hit the space bar and be like, wait, is that it? Or is, you know, this it? Well, the same thing, it's a JPEG. So for this, all right, open up, you need only one, and I said you needed 3 yesterday, but you actually need only 1 Facebook template. I read it wrong. I do apologize for that. I was looking at the total of 3 next to billboards, and I read the same thing for Facebook templates because you had made 3. So open up the new Facebook template first. And it's going to say some text layers might need to be updated before they can be used, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to update? Your name. No. Although, what is the font? Let me see what happens. Oh, come on. Ooh, my mouse is getting crazy here. Okay. That's fine. Lucinda Grand. That's fine. If it changes your font here, I'm not going to get mad. Do not worry about that. So you'll notice this one isn't an interactive Facebook template like your other one is. And it's a little bit different. It shows a sidebar over here that is definitely different from the one that we created in week 3. So let me open up week 3's. See how this is different over here? So we need to put this together a little bit differently. And there is a replace this cover photo, which is turned off, which is fine. If you need to follow along, you can, basically. You can turn that layer back on so you can see what needs to be replaced. Everything that says replace this needs to be replaced. Profile picture, profile, you don't need to replace the border. Cover border can stay the same, your name. And then you have layer 4. Let me see what's in that layer. And up here it says your name as well. We can, let me see what layer, this is header. We can just fix that. It's gonna take a little bit more work in this template, which is kind of funny. Oh, no problem. as compared to this template. This template is actually a way better template because it was able to be edited, and this one not so much. So what we're going to have to do is we're just going to have to kind of drag some things around and edit some things differently, which is fine. So this is where, remember how I was showing you last week the window, arrange, tile all vertically? This is where this is going to come into play. And I guess before we get to this part, just pick which Facebook page that you liked the best from week 3. Or if in your grading you were like, well, this one she said was really good, pick that one. I mean, you got a lot to do this week. Try to help yourself out. Pick the one that you think works the best because you only need one. All right. So again, window, arrange, tile all vertically. There's only 2 things open. So if you have extra windows, close them out. You really want just Facebook Temp PSD open and your week 3 assessment PSD open. And make sure you got that layers palette hanging out. All right, so first thing first, let's drag over our profile picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over where my profile picture is, and I'm going to right click. And you'll notice profile picture, double click to edit. I'm going to select that. And it's going to bring me right to that link, which is great, or right to that layer, not to that link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag right from the layers palette and drop. See how it literally drags it over with the little fist? I'm going to drop it on top of Facebook template PSD and let go. And at this point, I should probably just drag everything over that I'm going to need. So I'm going to right click again. I'm going to click back in DES 245. Whichever one has the text up here in white, that's the one you're on. See how it changes? It used to be not as subtle in the last couple of versions of Photoshop, but when they turned everything to this really dark interface, it's like the differences became so subtle. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but it was great when, one was black and one was like a really light gray. So you could definitely, no matter what, tell what window you were in. Thanks, Adobe, but what are you going to do? All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hover over where my cover photo is. And I'm going to right click and I'll select the one that says cover image, double click to edit, and it's going to bring me again to that layer, and I'm going to drag that layer over. There we go. And when I'm over here, I'm going to go quickly to window, consolidate all the tabs. I just want to make sure that I know what I need to drag in. So I've got my profile picture, which I'm going to start rearranging the order of these. So I'm going to drag and place it right on top of where it says replace this profile picture. Then I have cover image, and I'm going to drag this layer right down and place it over where it says replace this cover photo, just because I want these things to be in kind of a logical order. Once I replace it, I can just turn off that layer, you see. But at least they're next to each other, so things are starting to be in a logical order, but obviously they are a different size. Then I need to place this app photo. Okay. Those are those little photos. So there's room, I think, for 3 right here. So I'm going to, again, go window, arrange, tile all vertically because I need them to come back up, and I'm going to use my hand tool, just kind of drag these bad boys over into the screen. And I believe these are in sub boxes. So I right clicked and click sub boxes. I'm just going to close that up. I'm going to drag all of the sub boxes over. And there's going to be 4, but that's okay. I can see what fits, and if 4 fits, I'll leave it. If 2 fits, I'll get rid of the other 2, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to drag that over, the whole sub boxes. Then that about section, which is my product, services, yada, yada, yada. So product services, come and see. And I think this is all one text box. So I'm going to double check. To double check, like, is it all one text box? All you need to do is basically kind of turn off the layer and turn it back on, and it is. So I'm going to drag that over, put it where it needs to go. That's going to need to be scaled down. It doesn't seem to have this section. And up here, we're going to need to do some work because that's the old version. These are both like old versions of what Facebook used to look like, basically. I think that may be it. I'm going to leave this open, though, just in case. All right, so I'm going to go Window, Arrange, consolidate all the tabs, and make sure I'm in my Facebook template. And everything is basically all over the place. I'm going to start with cover image, just because it seems like this is the biggest one that's running all over. And I'm going to do the same thing that I've done every other time. I'm going to either go to Edit, Transform, or Free Transform, or I'm going to hit Command T. And I want to make sure that I've locked my width and my height. You'll notice that's another thing. Seriously, get used to doing that. Make sure life's so much easier. You don't have to sit there and hold down the Shift key while you're scaling things. Even if you hold down the Shift key, sometimes it's like off by like 0.1. And how annoying is that when you've been sitting there holding the Shift key the whole time? So I'm going to start to scale this down. And I just need to basically get it right up to the edges. Let's see, there we go. So I moved it to the left edge first and the bottom edge, and then I can bring down the top right-hand corner, and it should fit. All right. Sometimes you gotta zoom in right into that spot, and I'll hit enter. All right, so I've got my cover image in here, and where it says replace this cover photo, I can just turn that layer off because I've taken care of that. One thing down. All right. So next I'm going to take care of that profile picture. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I hit Command T and make sure that I have my width and my height locked. And I'm just going to start to scale it a little bit until zoom in a little. Command plus is zooming in. Go. Kind of match up. It's easier if you can like match up those one set of corners, because then you only have to worry about that other set of corners. And here we go. All right, so got that one in. And I can turn off again, replace this profile photo. Turn that off. All right, next, let me do your name. So I'm going to do it the same as over here, Westport, Mass. Double click on the T, Westport, Mass. And you'll notice it's center aligned. Left align it, and then just kind of move it over. Otherwise, it's going to start to run behind your Facebook profile picture. Okay. Then, all right, so I've taken care of that. I have taken care of my cover image. I have taken care of my profile picture. I need to work on that header and replace this app photo, which I'm replacing with the sub boxes, and then I have my products and services. So I'm going to hit Command T for the products and services, and I'm just holding down the Shift key, but then I'll lock it up here, and just try to, visually center it vertically in the space. I would probably line it up with the left edge, not the border, but literally the left edge of your profile picture right here, just for a visual. And it should definitely be vertically centered in this space. Just just make sure visually it looks like it's vertically centered, and you will be good. All right, so I got that part taken care of. Next, I need to scale down these sub boxes. For this one, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to move the sub boxes underneath the layer for replace this app photo, just so I can see that gray box, so I have a little bit more of a visual. And I'm going to scale all of the boxes at one time. So I'm going to grab the whole group. So if your group happens to be open like this, just close up that folder. It'll be a little bit easier, and hit Command T. Again, lock it. And just start to, where you're going to stop is when your first image, the first image, you have it aligned to the top left corner, and you're going to stop when it is the same size as the bottom right hand corner. So you might have to zoom in a little to do that. And it might be a little bit off width-wise, and that is completely fine. And hit enter. And then, you know what? We can make it, you can do this one of two ways. You can either go in Horseneck Beach and turn off feature box 4 in your item here. Or, because I know, like, I think this is how they used to do it, you can grab like the whole sub boxes. Let me turn off the replace this. You can turn off that gray box. And again, with your marquee tool, select your marquee tool or hold down M, select around all of these boxes and maybe stop like right here. And then make sure you have sub boxes selected. And you're going to add a layer mask. And when you click add a layer mask, it deletes this area, but it looks like you can keep scrolling over. So it's really what you want to do. And you'll notice you'll have that layer mask. It's right there. And if you don't like the way it looks, let's say you don't like the way it looks, you just click on the layer mask thumbnail and just drag just that part to the trash, and it'll say delete layer mask, and you can hit delete. If you grab the whole box and delete it, you'll delete the whole, your whole folder basically. So I'm gonna hit, whoops. Oh, window, history. There we go. I'll leave it up. All right, so let's take a look. We have one more thing that we need to do. Up here it says your name and has a profile picture. My name is actually Westport, Mass in this instance. And the little picture that's gonna go here, if you remember the olden days of Facebook when it used to be up here, is going to be my profile picture again. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select that profile picture layer, and I wanna make a copy of it. So I'm gonna drag the layer right onto this blank piece of paper right there, and that's gonna make a copy. And you'll notice if you hover over it, it says copy at the end. That's the one that's the copy. So I'm gonna double click and I'm gonna say small profile top. So that way I know the difference between the two, and I'm gonna drag it on top of that header layer because it needs to be placed above that. And I can start to move it, whoops, over. And again, I'm gonna have to scale that down. So Command T, again, I'm gonna link them, my width and my height. Scale that down. You almost can't even see what it says there, but hey, you've done it. All right. Next, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to copy the text from Westport, Mass. So make a copy of that layer again. So Westport, Mass copy. Move that up top. You can put it right in the same, right near small profile, and I would just say Westport, Mass top, so you know which one is which. And the text needs to be a different color. It's not going to be that dark blue. So double click on it. And up here, where you can see the text color. So click, move that out of the way, and just eyedrop where it says your name, and it'll change it, and hit OK. And then you can, with your move tool, move that second one up here. And you'll notice, just try to match it up with where it says your name, and double click again to bring up the text box, and just start to change the font size. I think 11 points will do it. It's Westport, Mass. All right. Trying to see what else it turns off. It turns off a couple of things. The header, because there's like a border right here, and you don't really want to turn off that border because it gets rid of that. So what you can do is you can take these two, put them into a folder, select them both, and click on the little folder icon, and we're going to name it header top, and just turn it off for a second. And then with header selected, draw a marquee right around those two items, and eyedrop the blue and hit edit, fill, foreground color, make sure you're at 100% and hit OK. So that kind of like fills that in, and then turn that folder, the header top that you just made, back on. And if you need to, which you probably will, just move it over a little bit. Give it a little bit of space between find friends. And I think we've hit everything on here. Let's close this up. Looks good, looks good. So I'm going to do a file save as, because I don't want to save over my template, especially because I've really altered this template this time. So file save as. I'm going to put it in my final projects folder, and I'm going to name it Facebook. I'm going to take off temp. I'm going to say Facebook Westport, so I know it's done. And hit OK. And apparently we're in December of 2011. We've all traveled back in time to create this Facebook template. All right, and close them both out. It's going to ask you, do you want to save your changes to this? Don't save, because what if you screwed something up? Just don't save that one. And close this one. There we go. All right. So again, let's see where we're at. All right. So we finished 1, 2, and 3 at this point. We are like literally cruising right along. Awesome. Next up, website homepage. So let's see. Computer temp. That is your website one. It's called computer, but it's your website. So open that up and go into your week 3, your assignment. And for this, you can probably open up that JPEG because you're just going to be dragging it over. So you don't really need to open up the PSD file that you have. The JPEG will work. Now, let's look at this. Layers, graphic. There's a couple of things going on in this that I want you to be aware of. There is this nice little sheen right here, and this is where naming your layers comes into play. Because how can you tell what is what? It's named layer 35, 30, 33, 30, 21. Blah, 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 blah. Like, how annoying is that? So and this is also where using that right click on the image to tell you what layer you're on top of really helps too. So I'm going to see this like little sheen right here, like a glare. I'm going to right click on this, and it's layer 21 right here. I want to make sure that this layer stays on top of my image that I'm dragging over. So I want to drag my image over in between layer 21 and layer 29. That's where I want to drag my website over onto, yes. All right, so I'm going to do window arrange, I can't speak anymore, tile all vertically, and I'm going to select in here. I'm going to just drag that background over, window, arrange, consolidate all to tabs. And you'll notice it dragged it right in between because I had layer 29 selected originally. So it dragged it right in between layer 21 and layer 29, which is exactly where I want it to be. So I am going to grab my layer that I just dragged over. I'm going to make sure it's like up above my, like the bottom of this keyboard part and above the bottom of this black box here. I'm going to select this layer and I'm going to select this layer together. And you'll notice I have my alignment tool. I'm going to align them to the right and I'm going to align them to the bottom before I start to scale it, just to make my life a little bit easier. After I do that, I'm going to rename layer 36 because we should always name our layers what makes sense. And I'm going to call it my website, just so that way I know like this is where it is. And I'm going to hit Command T. Again, we're all about the transforming today. I'm going to proportionally transform it. So I want to click and maintain my aspect ratio up here and start to drag from here. And you'll notice two things start to happen. You have to zoom in probably to get it right. You want to get right up to this lip right here. I don't know if you can see it that well. There's a kind of a nice bevel going on. And it's going to be a little bit taller than it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is figure out. Is layer 29. All right. Layer 29 in my website. Now I'm going to move it up to the top. All right. There we go. So it's going to run at this point a little bit below the keyboard, but it did it for me because I placed it in between the correct layers, basically. And if you want to get really particular, which I will love if you do this, bump it up, like select my website layer and just with your arrow key, bump it up once, twice. Then what I want you to do is select layer 29 and just click like kind of in the middle of your website, but it's going to select the black layer with your with your magic wand tool. And see how when we zoom in, how it added like that bevel? Go back to my website and select that layer and select add layer mask. And it's going to add that nice little bevel right there for you. It's the little things when you are mocking these up that really count. Seriously. Like these are the details that I look at and I love when I see these details. So, you know, definitely follow along. And you know what? Your clients will notice it too. They'll be like, wow, they put a lot of work into that. Like it's got the nice sheen of the website over it. Perfect. All right. So we've got that mocked up in there. So again, I'm going to do File, Save As. Instead of Computer Temp, I'm going to move it into File Projects. I'm going to call it Computer Westport, just after my town, just so that way I know it's done. And okay, I'm going to close them both out. So let's go back in. All right. So now what I have left is I have my postcard left, but not really. So don't think like, oh, I've got my postcard left and I've already taken care of all of this. There's actually something we need to go back and do with the final logo, but we'll take care of the postcard first. You'll notice there's another template in here. You're going to open up Final Presentation Template because you're going to need this one twice. All right, there is a text box here on this Final Presentation Template when you download it. And I don't remember what it says originally. I must have changed this already. But double click and you want to put your name. So your name, DES 245 Advertising, Instructor Shannon McNamara. Please do me a favor and spell my name correctly. If you aren't quite sure how to spell my name off of the top of your head, because I know it's long, go back, to the home page, to, I'm your client. Remember, you want to make sure you spell my name right. To my instructor bio. And you can copy my name right there into Photoshop. So that way you have it spelled correctly with a capital M and a capital N. Make sure you spell your own name correctly. There's been many times where I've submitted something and I've spelled my own name. I made sure so much that, the person's name was spelled correctly that I misspelled my own name. Believe me, it happens to the best of us. All right, so for this one, I'm going to bring in, and I'm going to copy and paste both sides of my postcard. So I want to navigate over to my postcard. I believe that was week 2. And that was my assessment. Yes. And you can open up both of the JPEGs again, because you don't really need the PSD files for this. So just open up and, again, hit the space bar, make sure that you've got both of them selected. Bring them into Photoshop. And window, arrange, tile all vertically. So I'm going to grab the front first and the back and drag them both in. Did that drag in? There we go. All right. And then window, arrange, consolidate all to tabs. And you'll notice this template is smaller than your postcards as well. So we want to make sure that we're scaling both of these, the front and the back, the same. So select both layers, and you can name them like postcard front, and it should probably go in front, postcard B for back. Select both layers, zoom out a little, hit Command T, zoom out until you see your bounding box. Make sure that you are scaling proportionally, so click the little lock, maintain that aspect ratio, and I would scale them down to maybe right here, maybe like this size, and we'll see how this works. And this is why, because you can set them up in a nice little way. So, oops, I'm just going to grab the front postcard like this, and I'm going to grab the back one. And if you have white, which I have, add a little bit of a drop shadow. That's way too much of a drop shadow. I would say like maybe 25% distance 0. See, when you do a 0, it puts it around all of the edges. 9, maybe 9, maybe 40%. So add a little bit of a drop shadow, and you can add it to the front too, just so that they're the same. And try to set them up so I probably don't want to cover the back of this one. So let me move this over here and maybe move this over here. There we go. All right, so this is where the label, people are going to address it. People are going to address it. So I can see like the design of this side, and I can see the full design of the top. I mean, you can even start to get like a little bit fancy and maybe angle this one this way. Just make sure that you're staying within that white box and do a Command T. It was Command T again, but you'll notice if you're out over here, after you scale, if you get the kind of bended arrow, you can twist it and kind of rotate things. You scale it down this way. So this is a nice little setup for both sides of your postcard. And you know what? You might even want to label them. Use the same font that you are using down here, you can just copy it so that way you know you have it. And you can just label it, oops, postcard side 1. Move it up there and make a copy. Bring that down here and say postcard side 2. You can even, angle the text that you just put, match it up. Zoom in a little. You're trying to wonder if it, whoops, just kind of, yeah, and make sure it's like outside of that drop shadow so the text reads nice and clear. Do the same thing on here. Again, Command T. I'm going to just start to angle it. I'm just matching the bounding box up with the top of the bottom of the postcard. So we got postcard side 1, postcard side 2. So that's a good way to set up your postcard template there. And it's, again, on this final presentation template. That's what you're going to add the postcards on. So I'm going to say File, Save As, the final project, and I'm going to say postcards. Just naming it postcards. And I'm going to close both of them out. Well, all 3 technically. All right, so remember I said that we needed to go back to the logo, final logo. We made a color in black and white, but we haven't set it up on a template. So again, I'm going to open up that final presentation template one more time. I'm going to again make sure that I take care of adding my name, DES 245 advertising, instructor Shannon McNamara, and make sure advertising is spelled correctly. I have this weird feeling that in the template you download, there's a spelling error in advertising. So make sure that is spelled correctly. You want to be aware of those little details because your clients will definitely notice it. And I am going to open up my final color logo, black and white, and my final color logo color. You can either do this from, open them up into Photoshop, or just copy and paste them from Illustrator. It's really up to you. I'm going to copy and paste them from Illustrator because I like to copy them in and be able to edit them later if I need to. So I'm going to copy the color one first. I'm going to do just Command A, or I can draw a bounding box around it, and Command C for copy. Then I'm going to navigate back over into Photoshop. I'm going to make sure I'm on that top layer. I'm going to hit Command V. I want to paste it as a smart object. And that's just because I can scale it and it's still a vector, because it's going to come in kind of small. It's a vector smart object. Again, hold down Shift or make sure you lock that ratio. Scale it to, give yourself some room, but scale it to kind of the almost the size of this document. Layers. I'm going to name this one logo color. And I'm going to want to scale the second one the same size. So I'm going to draw some guides so I can scale my color or my black and white version the same size. And close that out. And again, I'll grab this one, Command C for copy, go back into Photoshop, paste it in as a smart object again, and it'll paste it in small. So I'm going to bring it right up to that board, line, the guide that I drew. I'm going to make sure that my aspect ratio is set and drag it right to the second. And hit enter. And just give them a little bit of room, and I can name this one logo black and white. And I'm going to set them up like this, turn my guides off, and I kind of want them to float in between. I don't want them to come into this area, so I kind of want them to float between this area. So let me see what I've got for spacing. This is how I space. I draw a marquee box, top marquee box. Ooh, I am good. Sometimes I impress myself. All right. So it's kind of nice and vertically spaced in between this area. I've got some breathing room between the bottom, and they're nice and big. So again, I'm going to say File, Save As, File Projects. I'm going to say Logos on Template, so I know that those are the ones. All right. And I like having my vector version in here too. Even though I'm not going, it's not on a template. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the final project folder. I'm going to make a new folder in here, and I'm just going to call it images, or I'm going to call it logos, actually. I'm going to just move those 2 vector files in there. And to keep it down at the bottom, I always do this. I like add some Z's. It moves it down to my folder down to the bottom. All right. So now we need to, I can close that out. So now I need to go back in. I need to look and see what my requirements are. And I need to submit all of these elements together in a single PDF. So, all right, they're all saved pretty much as like PSD files at this point, I think. Yeah, PSD files. So I need to convert these to PDFs, and I need to make a 1-page PDF. So there's a couple of different ways that you could go around doing this. You could place them all in a document in InDesign and export that document. That's one way you can do it. But you need to figure out, like, all right, what are the different sizes that the pages need to be? Or you can do it this way, which is how I do it. I'm going to, again, in Final Project, I'm going to make another folder. I'm going to call it PDFs. And I'm going to actually put a space in front of this one so it comes up to the top. I just it's so much, it makes more sense this way logically when I look at it like this. So adding the space brings that folder up to the top. Adding the Z's keeps this one at the bottom, and then all of my PSD files are in between. You don't need to do it that way, but I just find it doesn't look nice in the folder, like when you're going to look for things and you're not like scrolling. It's the little things that will make you more efficient, as I like to say. So I'm going to open up all of these PSD files, and I'm going to name them, or I'm going to save them as PDFs. So you can select them all in your Finder and either hit Command Open, and it should open them up in Photoshop if you have it set up that way. Or you can literally drag them right on top of the Photoshop icon, and it'll just open them all up. Like, boom. All right. So just go through and say File, Save As, go into your PDFs folder, change it from Photoshop document to PDF, where are you? Photoshop PDF, hit save, hit OK, hit save, and wait for it to save, and then you can close it out. And it's going to take a minute to save a Photoshop PDF for some reason. So don't get like really scared. All right, for the next one, File, Save As, PDF folder, Photoshop PDF, save. Okay, save PDF. Do that one quicker? Oh, it did that one quicker. All right, File, Save As. Again, click on the PDF folder. Change it to Photoshop PDF. Save. Okay. Save PDF. 7,000 dialog boxes. Kind of close up that layers palette if you want. Oops. Close it out when it's done. File. Save as. PDFs. Photoshop PDF. Save. It's kind of funny that the first one took forever and it's like the smallest file out of all of them. But, you know, whatever. File, save as. Click on the PDF folder. Photoshop PDF. Save. Okay. Okay. Close. File. Save as. PDFs. Photoshop PDF. Save. Okay. Save PDF. Close. File. Last one. Thank goodness. Save as. PDFs. Photoshop PDF. Save. Okay. Save PDF. Close. And open up your PDFs, and you should have, all right, let's look and see that we have everything. We should have a final logo. Logos on template. There it is. Double check everything. Name, all right. Billboards. Let's go billboard 1, billboard 2, billboard 3. I should have Facebook template. I should have my website. And I should have the postcards front and back. Perfect. But I have obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PDFs, and I need 1 PDF. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Adobe Acrobat. And I will say this. I really can't stand the new Acrobat. Acrobat used to be a whole lot easier before they did all of these updates. I constantly, so if you see me Googling how to do something in Acrobat, I constantly have to Google how to do things in Acrobat now, because like they used to have, you know, up here with the tools, like they had like a toolbar that was more like Photoshop and Illustrator where you could just get it to do what you needed it to do. But now things are buried in places, and I'm like, why can't I figure this out? All right. So either under Home or Tools, what you're going to be doing is creating a PDF. So you can do File, Create, PDF from combine files into a single PDF. That's what we want to do, is we want to combine all those files into one single PDF. So this is probably the easiest way to do it, is through File, Create, Combine Files into a single PDF. And it's going to say Add Files. So what you need to do is you can click the Add Files, but what I like to do is go back to my Finder and close out that. And just literally drag and drop the files. And you need to put them in a specific order. So this is the order you want them in. Start with your logo. So you can drag your logo to the front. Then let's look. So we've got logos. Then you're going to have Billboard 1, Billboard 2, Billboard 3. Then you're going to have your Facebook template, which is right here. So we need to drag that next to the third billboard. Then you're going to have your website. There it is. And you're going to end with your postcard. So it should go in that order. Your logos, your billboard, Billboard 2, Billboard 3, Facebook, computer, postcards. Once you've dragged everything into the correct order, click the Combine button. And it's going to do its magic, and it's going to call it Binder 1, which is not what you want it to be called. But look through and make sure everything looks like it is correct. And if it does, then we will save it. If it's not, hit Edit PDF. And you can, I know that there's a way to do it more, to move the pages around. There is a way to move the pages around. Hold on one second. Page thumbnails. There you go. All right. So if you click on the page thumbnails, you can then drag it around by the page thumbnails. There you go. So if you screwed up, all is not lost. And if you can't figure it out, just start over. Sometimes with Acrobat, you just gotta like throw in the chips and be like, oh, I gotta start over. So don't feel bad. However, we need to name it based on our logical naming convention, which we have been using all mod. And if you've forgotten what it is, just open up your announcement. which we'll have to scroll back to like week 1 to find it, but that's okay. I can never remember off the top of my head how to name things. So it's not just you. I always have to refer back. And most of the classes have the naming convention right in the assignments and the assessments, but this one doesn't. So I always have to remind everybody to do it. And this is an assessment. So you're going to name it. So copy the first one. Go back into Acrobat and you're going to do a file, save as, and it's going to be like, do you want to save it to my computer? No, I don't want to just save it to my computer into whatever willy-nilly place, which makes no sense that Acrobat is going to choose. Like it wants to put it in my husband's resume folder. No, I'm not just going to hit like save, like and call it a day because it's going to put it in my husband's resume folder and I'm never going to find this PDF again because it makes zero sense. Seeing if there was a box, a folder I was literally working out of. So I'm going to choose a different folder. And it's going to find some other random place that it wants to save it in my iCloud, which I don't want to save it there either. I'm going to go back to where I was, to my Mod 3 folder. And this is another thing that Acrobat does. It's like, you see that I'm working out of this folder right here. Why wouldn't you want to save it to the folder I've clearly pulled all of these files out of? But I digress. And I'm going to go into my final assessment. Whoops, not final assessment. Or was I working out of? Oh, I made that yesterday. I'm like, that makes no sense. Why is that there? I'm going to go into my assessment, and I'm going to save it outside of these 2 folders because this has all my final projects together. This has all my templates, but this is what I'm submitting. So I'm just going to copy and paste that naming convention in. I'm going to change it to week 4 assessment. S. McNamara, because my name is super long. And we hit save, and I'm going to have a 1 PDF. I can double check it. Close it out. Just always double check it. Close it out. Go back in. Here it is. Open it up. And I'm going to scroll down. And you can see I have a whole theme here. One thing doesn't match, it's my Kayak Your Cares Away, but everything's pretty much water themed. Come and see Westport, come and see Westport, relax by the sea, relax by the sea, relax by the sea. So hopefully people will come and they will visit my, my wonderful town. And, you know, I can present this now. Now I have a whole, like, this is something that I can present to my client. My client is the town of Westport. So I can go to them and I'm like, hi, I'm Shannon McNamara, and I have created this entire advertising campaign for you for this summer. I've created a great logo for you. We have both the color version and the black and white version. What we think would be great is running a couple of billboards, you know, around town and around the state to get people to come here this summer. So here I've mocked up, you know, some ideas that I have of some billboards, you know, relax by the sea. And I've got this great picture of Horseneck Beach, you know, the dunes, and isn't that relaxing? You can see like what it'll look like when people drive by and they see your billboard. I've got another one on the highway. We can run one on the highway. And I've got one that we can run at the top of somewhere. I don't know where that is, but, you know, really high one off of the highway so people can see it, you know, on the interstate. I've decided, you know, you should definitely have a Facebook page. So I've kind of mocked up this Facebook page for you. So when people are looking for you on Facebook, we'll have come and see Westport. You know, we really want to get people to come to your beaches. So I've got this all set up for you. We've put your the logo right into your profile picture, and it's this nice little beach effect with the sand and the ocean. And I've got a great picture of Horseneck Beach, again, with your logo, really, you know, showing up. I've got some images from around town so people can see, you know, right on your Facebook page what it is that you guys have to offer. Then you're also going to need a website. So I just wanted to show you a great idea that we had for your homepage. You know, we've got places to stay, dining, events, shopping, you know, people, well, we would also want to have a, you know, an Instagram and a Twitter for you, but, you know, we can have a little bit of write up on the town, yada, yada, yada. Just want to show you what it would look like, you know, on a laptop screen. Then I also thought that you should probably send out some postcards. It's great to have a postcard campaign, so you can have these postcards printed up and left for people to purchase and send off to their friends, or you can even send them, to maybe some customers that you deal with, like getting that, maybe they would want to have some trips here, like if some businesses in other towns, maybe they would want to bring their employees for, like some sort of an employee day to the town for the day. And this is my whole, presentation I have for you. So this is something that, not just for this class, like you can use a presentation like this in real life when you are going out and you are meeting with clients. So this is a real world representation of what something like an advertising campaign would look like when you are bringing it to your client. So make sure, again, that you look everything over. It might have been instructor. It's either like instructor or advertising, I feel, was like misspelled. So just double check all of the spelling when you are, before you submit that. So after you have created all of this, you are going to just submit that one PDF file. Make sure you're looking over your rubric. So we use the templates provided. You have a single PDF that you submitted. That's worth 15 points right there. You have your final logo color and black and white. That's worth 30 points. So if you forget that black and white one, you're going to lose 15 points right there. 3 billboards. So each billboard is worth 10 points each. So if you are not making any of the fixes, you're not going to get full points. You need to make sure that you're also making those changes that I've been suggesting to you throughout weeks 1 through 3. You have your Facebook template. It needs to be that new Facebook template. That's worth 30 points. Your website, you need to put it on that template and do the changes. Postcard, front and back. If I only see a front of a postcard, you're going to lose 15 points right there because the back is missing. So these are the things you got to realize that, make sure that you are, that you're adding everything in and then submit just that PDF, that single PDF. So let's go back into our slideshow. Don't zip the PDF, just submit the PDF. And again, if you have any questions, please make sure you're emailing me. And like I said, please submit one big PDF file. Your PDF file should be, let's see what the size of mine is. Mine is 19 megabytes. That's not huge. I mean, it's kind of a big PDF, but it's not huge. If for some reason it is not uploading for you, send me an email. Don't just submit all of those PDFs and then say, oh, well, it wouldn't upload, so I uploaded them all together, like as multiple uploads. If I do not receive an email from you stating that you had trouble uploading the PDF, you will not receive the 15 points. So you need to send me an email that says it would not upload. It was X amount, which needs to obviously be more than like 100 megabytes, which it should not be, and it would not upload. Believe me, you can upload very large files to Canvas. So that should not be a problem. I'm just saying this if you have a problem. Like, I don't want to say it'll never be a problem, but you need to be speaking with me. If you have any questions, please email me. Do not email me Saturday night at 10 p.m. and it's due in an hour. I can't help you. I will not be awake. So make sure that you're getting in touch with me early in the week. If you do have problems, make sure you're going in and speaking with the learning coaches if I'm not available. They're there for you. Christy has some great hours this week. So make sure that you're getting together with them. All right. So got through our assessment demo. So let's do a quick review of what we went over yesterday. So I was talking about some advertising tricks yesterday. We talked about a lot yesterday, but I was talking about some advertising tricks yesterday. And the first is that avant-garde, which is a type of advertisement, where we're going to think exclusivity, the newest, coolest product, be the first to get it. And I'm going to fix this right now because it should be an iPhone 7 now. Or they're going to end up coming out with like an iPhone 8. Open link and nope. Hold on. I'm going to do this. Boom. Screenshot. And I'm going to fix this image. Place image. Because I'm talking about the latest and greatest. I can't be sitting there with an iPhone 6. There we go. All right. So, newest and coolest. And as soon as I teach this again, they'll be on like the iPhone 10. Be the first to get it. It's the new iPhone 7. It's new in red. And that's actually a pretty cool color. But the funny thing is I don't know about you. Like, I put these massive OtterBox on my iPhones because I drop everything multiple times. It's like my fingers are just made of wax or something. Like I have like no tactile whatever it is in my fingertips to hold on to anything anymore. So even if I got like this really cool red one, you'd never be able to tell in my big bulky case that I have. But it's pretty nice. Then we had the bandwagon ad. So jump on the bandwagon. Everyone's buying this product. You should buy this product too. And I had the Oral-B toothbrush, which is the brand more dentists and hygienists use. So why would you use another brand, right? Use the one that all the dentists use. Then we have, I'll go into presentation mode so you can see it a little bit better. Then we had some facts and figures, so some statistics, percentages, numbers used to help you feel confident in your purchase. So this could be in your purchase of anything. Advertising is a purchase in itself. They advertise to advertise. Facebook advertises to tell you about advertising on Facebook. And this is one of the ways that they advertise. They're like, here's some ideas of how many people will look at your page. Here's some ideas of how many people will look at your ad. It's an advertisement to advertise. I used to have to design advertisements to advertise your advertisement with the rest of our advertisements. It's a never-ending loop when it comes to advertising. Then you have your testimonials and your celebrity endorsements. So using celebrities or regular people to endorse the product. So we have Ellen DeGeneres and a raccoon, apparently, for that CC cream for CoverGirl. And I get it because it's supposed to get rid of your dark circles, but kind of funny. Then we have patriotism. Show your love and patriotism for the U.S. by, spending a ton of money. Buy this product. And, of course, Chevrolet, Ford, Dodge, they all end up using some sort of patriotism. I think Chevy probably does it the most. It's like they used to have like the American flag flying in the background. It was like, real Americans buy this truck. Something along those lines. I don't remember. The Heart of America. What was it? Oh, I can't remember it now. But they had a whole campaign where it was like, it was based around patriotism. Then we have transfer or association. So do you want to be popular, famous, interesting? Drink Dos Equis. Enjoy it responsibly. Stay thirsty, my friends. And now, RIP to the Dos Equis guy. They don't use him anymore. I think it's because he was getting too old. Then we have ordinary people. So buy this product because it's good for everyone. It's a good value. And it's used by ordinary people just like you. So if this old couple can figure out and think Swiffer is the best thing ever, you can figure it out and think that a Swiffer is the best thing ever. Which I will say, I hate to admit it, but Swiffers are pretty great. I always try to buy things that, are a little bit more sustainable so I'm not making so much garbage, and I hate how much I love Swiffers. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, I should just be washing the floors with a mop and a bucket. I'm like, but it's so much easier to use a Swiffer. They've gotten us all. I feel better because I drive a Prius, right? I'm allowed. All right, and then we have our simple solutions, which are advertisements offering a quick fix, simple solution. It's easy work. There's no fuss. Everything when it comes to cosmetics, face creams, face wash are all about the simple solution to whatever is wrong with you. You use this face cream, you're going to look 10 years younger. You use this face wash, your face is going to glow, but in a good way. You use, whitening toothpaste, and all of a sudden your smile could be 10 shades whiter. Everything is just so easy if you just use this product, and it never works. But, some things work, but most of the time it never works.